Welcome back. It's my second 40 for 40, and this is a movie I remember where I was the first time I saw it. And I, I was young. I was a teenager, and I had the glorious experience of being dropped off in a movie theater all on my own to just see movies that day, which used to be like my favorite thing in the world. And one of those movies I saw that day ended up being a film that I've seen countless times, and it's Armageddon. Uh, this is available on Max with audio description. And yeah, I wanted to see how this service worked out, and this should be a Shazam review, but unfortunately, if you saw my short, Max is possessed by the devil when you try to play a Shazam Fury of the Gods, or at least when I do. I have a video of what happens when you try to play Fury of the Gods. Anyway, but I was able to play this, so this gave me a little testy test on Max at the same time to see how the app was running. It's funny how I can't, the one thing I can't play is the brand new movie, but I can play anything else. So I got a 40 for 40 on the table, and it's one of my favorites, and it's a Michael Bay movie, and it has audio description. So we'll talk about it in detail like I did already with my first pick, which was Kindergarten Cop. I am admitting, I'm bearing my soul here to you guys with these favorite film picks to celebrate my birthday. Yes, I love Armageddon. It's so cheesy. And even when I was watching this past time to like critically analyze Armageddon, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. That's silly. That's stupid. That's but I don't get it. At the end, it always gets me. At the end, there's something about the score, the way the film is shot, the cheesy lines. Oh my god, when he sends AJ back up in the tube, and he's like, I always thought of you as a son, and Ben Affleck is, I mean, we've thought Ben Affleck is not a great actor. Ben Affleck is trying everything he can possibly do to get out of that tube. He's like, no, no. Like, you can just hear him. He's going nuts inside that tube, and Bruce's Harry is just, hey, you take care of my little girl now. You tell her I love her. And just right in there, I don't know. I think it's a great Bruce Willis performance. I think obviously what's happened to him recently is tragic, and we'll always have his great films. We'll always have Die Hard. That's the thing about many actors; they always leave behind a legacy. So, and yes, I just used Bruce Willis and great actor in the same sequence. You have a problem with that? Yeah, so you've still got your favorite films of theirs are still there to access, and mine is Armageddon. It's the most Michael Bay thing you could possibly Michael Bay into existence. It's so Michael Bay. I was thinking about that with the terms of audio description, and what does the audio description do? And it doesn't fully grasp the cheesiness of the Michael Bay shots. His color grading, the way he likes these big expansive shots, some of it was practical effects. It's not all blowing things up, but he loves to blow things up. Like, that's the thing you need to know about Michael Bay. Michael Bay loves to blow things up. And he didn't really get a chance to fully spread his wings earlier before Armageddon, because like before this he did like The Rock, which was not like he blew some stuff up, like some things blow up, but not to this extent. This was where he got to show everybody, listen, if you give Michael Bay a lot of money. This is what Michael Bay will give you. And it was kind of exciting at the time. Now we get tired of it. Now we're like, no, it's too much. Because it became repetitive, and he sort of became like a joke into himself. But yeah, I think this was effective. We look back on it as being silly, but it was a big hit at the time. And it's cheesy 90s action goodness. If we're allowed to look back at the 80s and be like, Top Gun was awesome. Top Gun was fun. There are movies in the 90s that are just like 90s versions of Top Gun. One of those is Armageddon. Take a bunch of dudes off of an oil rig and train them to be astronauts, fly them into space. Why not? I mean, what is the reason to not do that? And the casting here is great. I mean, Bruce is he's such a great lead in this, because he's so just like zeroed in. He's honed in all the time. He's not goofing off, because his entire oil rig crew is full of people who are goofy. So he has to be the guy. He has to be the leader. He has to be the man. And he does it. He reins it in, so that way he can be taken seriously, because he's technically the expert. He's technically the only one that they wanted, was Bruce Willis. But Bruce is like, no, I got these guys. I know they seem a little rough around the edges. Yeah, a little. And so, I mean, we get Steve Buscemi and Owen Wilson, and obviously Ben Affleck, and we get Michael Clark Duncan, rest in peace, and Will Patton, just all brought into this new thing that we're doing. I love that we needed to stop off and get this random Russian cosmonaut along the way, just to like extend the film's runtime. There's not really a reason to pick him up, but he's fun once we do pick him up. Like, it's like, we've got another fun character. Let's pick him up. Let's just swing by. The world's ending, but we're gonna grab this guy along the way. Yeah, that was interesting. And you've got William Fichtner, or whatever his name is the sort of like stern astronaut guy. Billy Bob Thornton he's the Ed Harris of this movie. He's the Apollo 13 mission man sitting there he doesn't get to go, but he gets to watch the whole thing happen. And the movie reinforces that he can't go by making us see his leg, which is brought up in the audio description too, that he has like a metal piece on his leg that he's like, I remember all the astronauts I trained with, but I always wanted to be the one to go. It was never me. It's so dramatic. I always wanted a patch on my arm. Well, that's okay, because that's foreshadowing. You will get your patch, sir. You will get your patch. By God. You will get a patch. And then we have Liv Tyler, who, I don't think Liv Tyler is a great actress. I don't. In this film, I think she's fine. I think she actually does everything she's supposed to do, which looks sad and just morose, and you know what I'm saying? But then she can cheer up. I think she has genuine chemistry with Ben Affleck. And she just runs out there while her father's song is playing in the background. I don't want to close my eyes. I don't want to fall asleep. It's funny. It's like, they use that song in all the wrong places. Like, I want it used, and I was thinking about, like, when they use it, and they use it a lot when it's her and Affleck together. And I think about it, and I'm like, I remember the music video for this, and it was very, like, Steven Tyler dedicating this to Liv Tyler. So like it was very like father-daughter, like at the time is what it felt like. But that was because they were using footage from the movie, so it felt that way. And now I don't know what the song's about. I used to think I Don't Want to Miss a Thing was like a Butterfly Kisses, but for Aerosmith. But now I have no idea. I mean, especially following Steven Tyler's stuff more recently in the news, I'm like, I really have no idea what anything you do is about in life, what your life choices are. But realizing when this comes in is it's AJ's. It's for AJ. It's not for Bruce. They never use it between, you know. And there are times like I really wanted it in that final call between Harry and his daughter when he's like, I know I made a promise, but I'm gonna have to break that promise. I really wanted it to be like, I don't want to close, like really quietly in the background. I don't want to fall asleep. You know, just like in the background. I was like, this is where it should be playing. Just like eerily in the background while Harry's giving his little farewell speech. Unfortunately, that's not where it plays. It does play right at the end of the credits, though. I don't know how this film did. I don't know how this song didn't win best. I don't know what did win. What did this lose to? I hope it was like a Disney. I hope it was something good. If it was something that we don't even remember anymore, then because this song has definitely stood the test of time and is always associated with the movie that it came from, which is a great indication of the fact that something happened. I mean, like, you know where I Don't Want to Miss a Thing came from. It's not, there's never like a question of, oh, what movie was that? Was that from Tommy Boy? Like, it's never just, it's like, yeah, that's the song from Armageddon. Oh, okay. So it would have actually given, I think, Diane Warren her Oscar way back in the day, so she wouldn't be perpetually losing every year at the Oscars. Anyway, yes, it's silly. Yes, of course it is. Oh my God, it's silly. It is so silly. It's so hilariously awesome, though. I mean, I love that Steve Buscemi's character is so creepy and weird. And then all of a sudden, he's like a genius. Like, out of nowhere, he just gives these bursts of information that the script has required him to give. He's the one that remembers, like, when they overshoot the landing site, he's the one that remembers, and he's like, blah, 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 this is, we landed on a sheet of iron. It's like, dude, how did you remember that? Like, who are you? Why is this coming from this character? Because, like, it's like validation for this throwaway line that he has earlier on in the film where he talks about how he went to school and used to work at schools or whatever in universities. He had all these degrees, right? And it's like, that life wasn't for me. So he wanted to become Rockhound and go work on an oil rig with all of his degrees. And then all of a sudden, this one time in the film, he gets to burst out with his information. And by the way, while we're talking about Rockhound and Steve Buscemi, that gun is ridiculous. What the fuck is that gun for? The gun that they put in the film that Steve Buscemi gets on and shoots. What is that even for? Why did they roll that out? They're like unlimited. They have limited time when they get there. They have they have one goal, which is to get a nuke into the ground. And somebody rolls out this giant cannon thing. It's like, what is this for? Who created this? What purpose? How is this helping them drill? How is this? Did you think aliens might be on the asteroids? You have this giant gun as protection? Is this like a just in case thing? Like there was like a team of NASA people, and there was that one guy that was like, but what if there are aliens? And they were like, I don't know, I guess there could be. We should prepare for that. I don't know why we put a a giant gun turret on there. Where did this gun come from? Why is it there? So yeah, space dementia. I was like, is that a thing? Who cares? Did anybody care? Was it the breaking point for anybody with space dementia? Like when you heard that, was there like a guy like stood up and was like, God damn it, and just like walked out of the movie theater? No, of course not. So it's just, this is so cheesy, and it's so 90s, and it's Michael Bay, and I don't know what to say about this film, but yes, it makes me happy. It's silly. He blows stuff up. He loves to blow things up. And every time I paid attention to like what was blowing up, I didn't even realize fully until you try to critically analyze the film how silly some things are. Like the little moment with the asteroids and everything that hit China, and they're like, oh, we got a chunk that's going in on Asia, and they're like, do we let them know what the entire area? Like, they don't know where it's gonna land. They haven't figured that out yet. So we just cut to this like really serene shot of these kids, and they're just chilling somewhere over in Asia, somewhere. And bam, an asteroid hits. And there's a news report. 50,000 people died. It does not feel like that in the in the footage. But 50,000 people died from that asteroid attack. Meanwhile, the New York City one, I think we lost a dog. I think that was the guy with the dog, and he's trying to get help, and he's like, Eddie! Yeah. The score to the film is actually good. I just needed more I don't want to miss a thing moments. Like, it's a cheesy film anyway. It should be somebody's theme. Like, every time somebody walks into the frame, it should just be like, I don't want to close my eyes. I like Will Patton in this film. He plays a very great, like, best friend character to Bruce Willis, like the other grown up in the room, the other serious guy that you can count on. It's funny how, like, Bruce can count, like, you feel that, but Will Patton never really has to do anything to earn that. Like, there's nothing really specific that his character does, that chick does, to earn that role. Like, you don't see him, he doesn't really do any, or is responsible for some major part of the plan, but he's the guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can tell, like, he's number two. Should something happen to Bruce, we all turn to Chick, and Chick's got this. Like, that is what he's there for. So he does a good job. The whole thing with his wife and kid, or woman and child, I don't know. When it's so vague like that, and he just kind of shows up, and she's like, "You can't come here." It confuses him. I'm like, I don't even know. Are you guys? Were you married? Did you hook up? Like, what is this? What's this situation? Like, what's going on here? And I love that. That at the end it just all works out for him. This boy breaks through the crowd, just like runs over to this strange man that stopped by his house one day that he had never met before, and is all about. And I'm thinking, like, as a kid, I'm like, would I have done that? If someone was like, "That's your dad," go run over and hug him. I'd be like, I don't know that guy. I don't know. You've been telling me stranger danger my whole life. You want me to run over? You want me to run up to this weirdo? But no, they needed it for that moment. Of course, his lady friend is very emotional. The audio description lets us know that her hand goes from like her her mouth, her heart. This is very emotional when I do this. Just, it's called acting. Yeah, the audio description's fine. It's not great. It's not like over the top. I wasn't like blown away by it. I don't think that you fully can grasp, and that's kind of the problem with directors and their styles, and getting the director in a style and the shots and the vibe. There's like a certain color grading that Bay uses while he's on the asteroid, and it looks practical effect to me. Like, it looks like they built this. This existed at some point in time as a real set that they were wandering around on. And it has a certain feel, vibe, color. He's got like haze sort of like whipping through it. It's sort of hard to describe all of the things that I remember about how the asteroid looks, but they're on it for quite a while, and I kind of feel like we don't get a grasp of the asteroid. The best description you get is at the very beginning, which gives Owen Wilson one of his best lines in the film, which is, scariest possible imaginable. Got it. Scariest imaginable. Got it. It's all you need to say. Scariest thing imaginable. Got it. When they say that it's like in the sun it's 200 degrees and in the shade it's 200 negative. I'm like, one of those is just wildly, not that I want to be in 200 degrees heat, but also negative 200 is quite a dip in the other direction. To go from. So, yes. But they never really seem to, the temperatures there never really seem to affect them. They get the job done. This is a fun film. Yes, it doesn't necessarily make sense all the time, and I can't even imagine. I feel like if I watched this film with a scientist, with somebody who had like a PhD in astrophysics, like watching this with Neil deGrasse Tyson, he'd probably just be laughing the whole time. He'd just be like, this movie doesn't make any sense. And I get that. And I feel that with as little scientific knowledge as I know as myself, like, I get that. But there's a certain way to make a cheesy action movie and make it really well. And make it so that it's not gross and it doesn't overstay its welcome, and the characters are memorable, the acting, you have to handle cheesy dialogue and cheesy moments just perfectly. There's a very fine line that you have to walk, and I'm going to argue that Armageddon walks it perfectly. The biggest movies that you remember from the 90s really do kind of walk their cheesy moments really well. Independence Day is another one of them that walks it really perfectly. It knows it's structured really well. We like to blow things up in the 90s. But then, yes, there are other films where it didn't work so well, where the cheesiness did not come through. It was a little too cheesy, didn't quite work. And we did miss the boat. So it didn't work for every single film. But it worked here. And it worked coming as the second of the two apocalyptic movies of the summer. This came after Deep Impact, which is Mimi Leder's film, and it has its own values and virtues. I have no idea if it has audio description. I haven't checked that out. So if you're a fan of Deep Impact, I hope it does for you. But haven't gotten there yet. But Armageddon's my favorite of the two. So I went ahead and knocked that one off my list. 40 for 40. Made me feel good. It was a nice trip down memory lane. I don't really know how to grade this, because even while rewatching the film, I go, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. But I don't know why I don't care. Like, there are things that I'm like, I just don't care. Like, it's cheesy and it doesn't make sense, but I don't it didn't bother me. You know, there are times where I never lose faith in the film. You know, I just at the end, like I never thought Harry wasn't gonna hit the button. Even though there's so many cheesy lines that lead up to that, you know, he's like, "We're gonna go back," and then Ben Affleck's like, give him more time. Harry doesn't know how to fail. And it's just like, ooh, I feel like that's a great line, but I don't know why. But damn, that's a great line. You know, it's just like it's right at the right time. It's just so, it's so perfect. Just needed. It's what's needed at that time. Yeah, I love it. So I don't know that I can officially grade this film. The audio description, you know, it depends on what you're looking for. I think it's adequate. It's adequate audio description. I don't think it did anything for me in terms of being able to tell you that I think you'll fully be able to understand and embrace what Michael Bay is about in terms of the way he likes his shots to be big and explosive and expansive, and these wide shots, and his use of practical effects versus CGI. A lot of it looks practical, actually. He's really good about making his effects look good. And that's the thing, is they really do. A lot of this, I remember back in the day, looked actually really good. Because he did use a lot of practical effects. He built what he needed. He didn't just rely on computer technology. We had films back in the day that were big, and a lot of their shots, their main sequences, look terrible now because they relied on cheap CGI. One of the biggest examples I could give you would be Air Force One. There's a shot in Air Force One with the plane that's just... I had a chance to see Air Force One before losing my vision, and I don't know what we were using back then, but it was not up to standard. I can tell you that. It stands out compared to the other films of its time as being really rough. Really rough. But Armageddon felt great all the way up until I couldn't see it anymore. So, and I don't know how you capture all of those choices. There isn't really a focus here on costuming. I feel like there's just like this assumption that once you understand what an astronaut wears, then you just, like, they don't need to tell you anymore. So yeah, there's maybe like a couple references to how they dress before, just so that you understand how like ragtag they are. But there isn't like a whole lot of costuming here. It's just sort of understood that, I guess conceptually, we all understand what astronauts wear. And it's just, you know, and nobody really cares what anybody is really wearing in you know, in the room. At NASA, and it's just, it is what it is. It's, you know, it's there was one scene that kind of bothered me, where it's when Ben Affleck is playing with animal crackers, and he's moving the animal cracker up, and he says that the narration says that he puts the cracker on her breast, and it's like, to me, when I hear that, it makes it feel like the breast is out, like it's a naked breast. And Liv Tyler is never topless in this film. This is PG-13. She's not topless. I can't remember exactly where that animal cracker goes, but I know it wasn't on a boob. Like, sure, she's not sitting there topless. So if that's the impression that you get from that narration, then the narration is wrong. But when I hear that, I hear, you know, especially in a scene that is of that nature, that is like a sexually charged scene to begin with. but that was one thing that I was like, she's not naked in the scene. I know I can't see it, but I've seen this film 10 times. I know she's not naked. Anyway, I'm avoiding grading this film because I really don't want to say it out loud because I know everybody's going to just turn on me. But when I do these in my favorite films and I save a certain grade to indicate to the world that it's my favorite film, one of my favorite films, and this film has inspired me in some way. This film is something that I put other films up against, whether it's fair or not. Whether this is, I'm not going to say this is one of the best films ever made. It's going to feel like it when I say this grade, but it is one of my favorite films, and that's why I'm doing this, because I'm turning 40, and I'm sharing 40 of my favorite films with you that also have audio description, and it's on Max, and I'm giving it an A+. Because there's nothing like putting this film on and just, it's long, and I had fun with it the whole way. And yeah, I could sit there and be like, do we need this Russian cosmonaut? I mean, we could trim some time from the film, but he's fun. He's fun once he's in. It's great. So if you have never seen Armageddon, I think you'll be fine. But if you would like to see Armageddon, it's on Max. And it did make a ton of money at the box office. So if you like movies that most other people have seen, I think this is one of them. So give it a look-see. And thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Hopefully this I'm sure this review is going to cause my subscriber count to go way up. Everybody's going to be like, this is a guy who's being real honest about his feelings for Armageddon. So I don't play around. I'm being honest. I like this movie. Other critics wouldn't come on here and tell you that. This is a film that people usually like to run from, and I'm running toward it. I ran into that building to save it. To save that burnt, I don't know, whatever's burning inside this house. I saved it and brought it out. I don't want to close my eyes. I also have a website, MacMovieGuy.com. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram at MacMovieGuy. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It will let you know what has audio description, where you can watch it, and you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. And it'll let you know who's narrating your favorite films and television series. That's it for me today on this film, and I will review something else for you guys, and see you on the other side. I don't want to close my